What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Prophecy Misfits Podcast. This is episode 328, running the Asylum, and it's gonna be a jam-packed one tonight for sure. We got a ton of things to talk about. Basically, the inmates are running the Asylum. Lawlessness and corruption is going to be kind of the name of the game as we go through tonight. But you take one show off and everything starts going crazy. So we've got plenty of things to talk about. Hopefully we can get to it all. There's actually a whole load of things that I wasn't able to throw in tonight because there's already too much to talk about. So this should be pretty interesting. So, but welcome in, and hopefully you guys had yourself a break as well. I took Tuesday off. Hopefully you guys did as well. Although it really wasn't much of taking anything off because everything just kept rolling like crazy. So trying to keep up with stuff. But yeah, pretty interesting. So hopefully you guys are doing all right tonight. Glad to have you here. So if this is your first time in, this is what we do on Tuesdays and Saturdays. We get together and we talk about these things. We watch these things. We're called to be watchmen. We're called to pay attention to the times that we're in. These last days that we're in, we have no idea how much time we have left here on this earth. But we are called to watch, and we're called to warn and to do these things. Now, as we know, prophecy itself is not unfolding right now, but what we are witnessing are stepping stones and foreshadows to the prophecies that will unfold post-rapture into the day of the Lord and stuff. So that's what we do, is we get together and we watch for these things, and glad to have you here. Especially if you're new. If you are new, I got a bunch of new people because an old video kind of went viral as of late. And so if you are new, welcome in. We follow Jesus here. We talk about Jesus here, and we talk about the crazy stuff going on around the world. We don't hold back. We question the narrative, and we say things that just need to be said that aren't often said. So welcome in. So good stuff. Yeah, I see people are already joking about it. Yeah, we only have a few days left, guys. I don't know if you know about that or not, but yeah, the whole Feast of Trumpets 2023, the September 23 rapture crowd is they're pushing their stuff. So we only got a couple days left. We'll be out of here on Tuesday, according to those people who somehow have access to hidden information that the rest of us don't have. It's amazing how that works. So, but yeah, all that jazz. I hope that we're gone. I hope that we are. I just don't subscribe to that garbage because the Bible says don't subscribe to it. So fun stuff. So yeah, Tuesday we'll be having ourselves a little rapture party because that'll be the last day. I'm just sick of it. I'm honestly sick of it. I wonder if somebody has put out a book. It's 2025 reasons why the rapture will happen in 2025, just like they did in 1988 and 1989, and there's a whole bunch of other books like that as well. So it's just ridiculous. Anyways, glad to have you guys here and welcome in. So let's see how y'all are doing in the chat tonight, and let's see what y'all are up to here. Let's see. We got Nawaso 56. Good to see you. I made it to live. Well, welcome in. Glad to have you here. We call you Waso. Hope that's all right with you. But good to see you. Thanks for being here. Misfit Tina is here as well, with Peanut the Pug in the stroller. I hope you gave him some bacon. I hope you gave him some bacon. Good to see you. Nancy West is here as well. Good to see you, Nancy West. The troublemaker of the chat, but glad to have you here. Thanks for being here. Let's see, we got Trace Severs as well. Good to see you, Trace, and thank you for being here. Hopefully you're doing all right tonight. Appreciate you. Ronnie Church is here as well. Good to see you, Ronnie. And every time I I don't know if you've seen it. Every time I hear the name Ronnie, I think of the Longest Yard when he gets laid out by the football player, and he's like, "I got a bird. His name is Ronnie." I don't know. It just pops into my head every time. Good to see you, Ronnie, though. Thank you for being here. If you have a bird, please let me know. Let's see. EJ is here as well. Good to see you, EJ. Love the title of the show. Yeah, it's pretty true. Pretty much true. Rosetta T is here as well, or Jellyfish. Good to see you, Jellyfish. Thank you for being here. Bab is here as well. Good to see you. Victoria is here as well. Around and around we go. Where will we stop? Nobody knows. God knows. And I thank the Lord that he knows, because that means he's in control of all this craziness. Sarah is here as well. Good to see you. And thank you for being here on this Saturday evening. Rick is here as well. Good to see you, Rick. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Let's see, we got Shirley recovering as well. Good to see you, Shirley. And hopefully you're doing all right tonight. And don't have to go to work tomorrow. Ooh, nice. Congratulations. That's always good. Let's see. None of this world is here to keep you rapscallions under control, but we're going to be rapturing. Yeah, according to the geniuses, we're going to be gone on Tuesday. So let's see. Lori S is here as well. Good to see you, Lori. Thank you for being here. Ebsy from across the pond. Good to see you, Ebsy. You were missing there a few days. Napping and storms and all that stuff, I'm sure, but good to see you. Thanks for being here. Jalapeno in the house. Good to see you. Run. I don't want to know what you're running from, but good to see you, Jalapeno. Thanks for being here. Edward McKelvey is here as well. Prayers for my parents. If you guys can, please keep Edward's parents in your prayers. We definitely need to make sure that we're keeping each other in prayer. So we'll have the Misfits praying for you there, Edward. Let's see. MGK is here. Good to see you, MGK. Celebrating with the yays. Good to see you. Andrew is here, just pondering a toilet and a dish. I'm not even going to go there. Jojo Bias Grace is here. Good to see you, Jojo. And thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Let's see. We got... where'd you go? There you go. Sheila Brown is here. Good to see you, Sheila. With the big pink hands. Good to see you. Bryce is here as well. Thanks for being here, Bryce. Appreciate you. Proton Girl is here. Good to see you. This thing is jumping all over on me. Titus Two Life is here as well. Cat eats bacon, steals it out of the skillet. Yeah. I'm a dog guy. Good to see you. Let's see. Mrs. Beanfriend is here as well. Good to see you. Hopefully you're doing all right tonight. Christina Kerr is here. I swore I knew a Christina Kerr years ago. I might be getting the first name wrong. Anyways, good to see you, Christina. New here. Well, glad to have you here, and thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Let's see here. Nicole is here as well. Good to see you, Nicole. And hopefully you're doing all right tonight. Heather is here in the house. She made it. Good to see you, Heather. Let's see. Helen M is here. Sort of new to the chat, but been watching a couple. Hey, well, that's cool. Good to see you, Helen. Appreciate you. Thanks for stopping by in the chat. Hopefully you stick around. Chris is here. I don't even want to know what you've been throwing in the fridge, man. Just going to leave it there. David is here with just a period. All right. That's all that needs to be said sometimes, David. Good to see you, man. Rachel C is here as well. Lisa B is here. Good to see you. Patrick Starr is here. What's going on, Patrick? Sandy Unzueta. That's probably not right, but good to see you, Sandy. Thanks for being here as well. So good to see you guys. Let's see. In the Rumble, we got CL Moody is over there. Pickleweeds. Some of you have the great names. Good to see you, Pickleweeds. Romaha is there as well. Good to see you. Jacques as well from Down Under. Good to see you. And then over on the website, we got Sherry M and Shirley Bible Believer holding down the fort. Doc is there as well with Katie and Not of This World as well. So good to see you guys. Thank you for being here. If I don't pick you out, it's not don't like it. It's just we have a ton of stuff to get to tonight. So let's go ahead and get to some housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
No, thank you. Sleeping.
Housekeeping?
All right, so housekeeping usual spiel. If you guys can, like, share, subscribe. Get this out to as many people as you can. It's not about views, not about butts and seats, but it is about getting the warning out to people and getting people to Jesus. So if you guys can do me a solid and like, share, subscribe, I'd certainly appreciate that. Hopefully we can get out there, reach some people, answer some questions, because I know there's a lot of people that are just, they don't know what's going on. They know something weird is going on. They know normal is not normal, even though it technically is normal for the times that we live in. Hopefully you guys are following me. And they're looking for help out there. And there's a ton of woohoo out there. We're a little woohoo here, but still there's a lot of like... we'll just leave it there. But hopefully if you guys can like, share, subscribe, it helps reach those people, and we can give them some answers, give them some hope, and ultimately give them the gospel of Jesus Christ. Also, if you guys can follow me, Rumble and Telegram, those are my backup channels. If I get booted off YouTube, I'll be back up live streaming over on Rumble, so make sure you guys follow me there. Telegram, post updates, announcements, and other little things here and there. I can't necessarily put in video format, and so I kind of throw it up there as well. But if you don't have Rumble, you don't have Telegram, you don't want those things, I understand. Just make sure you guys go ahead and bookmark the official WretchedWatchmen.com website. That's your one-stop shop to stay up to date on everything that's going on. Latest announcements, podcasts, live streams, and anything in between can all be found on the website. One centralized place. Make sure you guys go ahead and bookmark the website. And then last but not least, if you guys would like to support this channel and what I got going on, I got donation links down below. CashApp, Venmo, and Give, Send, Go. This channel is now monetized. Don't make anything from ads, views, anything like that. Runs solely off of your guys' donations. And you guys are the ones that make this run. You guys are the ones that make this happen. I'm truly blessed to be in this position. And I thank the Lord for all of you guys. And I thank all of you guys for what you do. So I appreciate you. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. All right. That's housekeeping. That's what we got going on with that. Okay. So it is Saturday and we got ourselves the Wretched Weather Report. So let's go ahead and get into that, shall we?
Everybody got their fancy hats? Let's go!
Everybody got your fancy hats? All right, we're going to go ahead and get into what's going on with the Wretched Weather Reports. We just keep track of the trends of what's going on when it comes to the weather stuff. As we know, the natural events are a part of the increasing birth pains that we will see, an increase in size and frequency as we get closer to the day of the Lord. And they're going to continue to go and so on and so forth. So we just keep track of what's going on. A lot of people argue it's like, well, those it's not natural events because it's all being orchestrated and whatnot. Well, yeah, there's man-made stuff that's happening. God's also getting involved with these things as well. And we know that they're going to be a part of the end times when that time happens. So we just keep track of what's going on. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what we got with our earthquakes and volcanoes. So we just keep track, again, of the trends. I'm not a geologist. I'm not a meteorologist. I'm not a proctologist. I'm not the Queen of England or a flying pig or even a roast beef sandwich. I'm none of those things, but I just keep track of these things because I think it's good to do so. And so this past week, as far as earthquakes, 5.5 magnitude and up, we have ourselves a 5.5 in the Udalguri, India. Then there was a 6.0 in Petropavlovsk, Kamchatsky, Russia, which they just got slammed again. We'll get to that in just a second. They were the ones with the 8.8 not too long ago, and man, they're getting hit again. So this is pretty interesting to watch. Then there's a 6.0 in Kokopo, Papua New Guinea, a 6.1 in Nabiri, Indonesia, and then the big one of the week was the 7.8 in Petropavlovsk, Petropavlovsk, Kamchatsky, there we go, Russia. And then a 5.5 in Uki. That is not even close, but you guys can read it. Chile, and then a 5.9 in Ozernovsky, Russia. The 7.8 was surrounded by a whole bunch of aftershocks, came with a whole bunch of aftershocks. Some of them going almost up to 6.0 magnitude, a lot of them staying in the 4 to the 5 region. I don't list the aftershocks just because there's so many, it would just be a ton of them on there. But there's a ton of aftershocks that hit with that, and we can take a look here. It's just powerful magnitude, 7.8 earthquake shakes Russia's far east Kamchatka region. This is a powerful 7.8 earthquake struck near the east coast of Russia's Kamchatka region. The U.S. Geological Survey said there are no immediate reports of damage. I've got a fly flying around me. The quake's epicenter was 79 miles east of Petropavlovsk, Kamchatsky, and it struck at 7 a.m. Friday time. There was a warning, tsunami warning issued, but then lifted. And the initial quake was followed by a series of aftershocks up to a magnitude of 5.8. The remote Kamchatka region has been hit by a series of powerful earthquakes over the past 2 months, including one of magnitude 8.8 and two of 7.4. And then we just got this 7.8, and there's also a 6.0 over there as well. So I don't know what's going on with that region of things, but this is not normal. This is why it's good to keep track of the trends. Again, I'm not an expert. I don't have all the numbers and stuff like that, but I know this is not normal, and it's just getting hit like crazy over there right now. So this will be interesting to see if it continues and if there's any repercussions from it. As far as volcanoes this past week, we're at 47 active volcanoes, so we've worked ourselves back up into the global range of global average of 44 to 48. Then we got 8 in North America, which is +1, 4 in South America, 2 in Europe, 3 in Antarctica, 3 in Africa, 21 in Asia, which is +3. I don't remember the last time we hit the 20s in the Asia region, so pretty interesting there. And then 6 in Oceania, which is down 1. So for 47 active volcanoes happening right now. So that's what we got going on when it comes to the natural events around the world. Again, I'm still seeing tons and tons and tons of reports and footage of flooding everywhere. We were reporting on a lot of that flooding there for a couple weeks, but there's just so much of it that I can't keep it all under control, the amount of floods. But there's just entire villages and towns still getting wiped off the map right now. So just be praying. Be praying around the world for those affected by the flooding. I really don't know what else to say at that point. Just be praying for those affected by it. Okay. Whew. That's what we got when it comes to the Wretched Weather Report. Good stuff. Grab some water real quick. 1 second. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. All right, let's go ahead and get into what we got going on. We've got a ton of stuff, so we might be rapid fire on some of this stuff. I just want to make sure that we're aware of it and everything, so it's worth keeping track of. So, like I said, running the asylum, I'm sure if you guys have heard that, and before, raise your hands in the chat if you heard the phrase before, the inmates are running the asylum. And it's basically saying those who are the ones that should be under the authority of the asylum are basically the ones that are controlling the asylum. They're not qualified for it. They shouldn't be doing it. And they are a tad insane with how they're leading things. And it's with the amount of information that's coming out recently, the inmates are absolutely running the asylum. And this is something that, at least here on this channel, for those who have been around, knows that we've been warning that this was what was going to happen. It didn't matter because, again, politics don't matter. Things are orchestrated. They're planned. There's people out there that still argue that that's not the case. I don't know how you're still holding on to that illusion, but you're free to do what you want to do. But the fact is, it doesn't matter if it was Kamala or Trump that got in. It was going to be inmates running the asylum. Now, as we know, and we've discovered around here, that Trump was always the pick. That was just how it was going to be. He was scheduled to go in. Things were orchestrated that way. And it's just been absolute chaos and corruption the whole time. Because this was the idea. You get somebody in there who you built up trust for, and you get everybody to follow this person to accept the changes that they would otherwise reject under somebody like Kamala. And so that's a pretty simple way of explaining how that works. We've gone over it a bunch in the past. We're not going to go over it tonight, but I think it's a good idea to at least have that review under our belts before we start getting into this stuff. We know that in these last days, there's going to be increased time of lawlessness. Now we know that there's going to be the man of lawlessness that comes eventually. He's not here yet, and it's not even worth trying to debate who's going to be it or not. He's not going to be revealed until we're gone. So, but we do know that there's going to be lawlessness around it. People are going to be corrupt. They're going to be wicked. They're going to have contempt for the law. They're not going to hold to the law. And when we think of that, when we usually think of lawlessness, most of us think of there's going to be chaos in the streets. There's going to be rioting. There's going to be a ton of things in the civilian side of the world that's going to be lawless. Immigration problems, job issues of people doing things in the workplace that go against the law and so on and so forth. Like we see it on Wall Street and stuff like that. We see the right versus left. We see the Antifa versus the Proud Boys or whatever they're called. I can't even remember. And usually when we think of lawlessness, we are thinking of something going on in the streets, BLM riots and whatnot, which is true. That's all lawlessness. There's contempt of the law. They're going against the rule of law and the authority and so on and so forth. But we don't necessarily think in terms of lawlessness of the governments, because most churches, and I use the word most because I believe it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Call me out on it. But I believe most churches incorrectly teach the Romans, 13, regarding the true authority of our country. Now, I'm speaking of here in the United States. It's different for each place out there and how you have your authority set up. But here in the United States, I think most churches teach that incorrectly. They think, well, it's Congress and the president and so on and so forth, and we go with what they're the authority of the land. Wrong. The authority of the land here in the United States, even to this day, even though they're over there wiping their rear ends with it, is the Constitution. And so any unlawful act that the government does according to the Constitution is lawlessness. It is. It's corruption. It's contempt of the law. It's wickedness. And we're at a point right now where the government here in the United States and governments all around the world, but again, I'm just speaking close to home because I can, it's absolute lawlessness. They're doing whatever they want to do. It's absolute corruption. But again, because of the guise of politics, the illusion of politics, the now religion, the fact is society still holds to the left-right paradigm. So you have the left that's now calling out this stuff, but then you have the right that's defending it because it's their people. If Kamala got in instead of Trump and the same stuff was going on, it would be flipped. You would have left that's supporting it and you would have the right calling it out. This is something that I've tried over and over and over and over to get through to people who still hold to the political ideology of it doesn't matter if it's left or right, you're defending your guy. It's a cult of personality. It has nothing to do with holding on to the principles that you claim that you hold on to. And so that's why this stuff gets to happen. And that's why, and I'm going to say it right here, right now, pretty much all the stuff that we're going to go over here in just a second, you're never going to hear from the conservative pastors, the prophecy guys, because they don't want to offend their guy. They don't want to go against their guy. Now, if this was Biden or Kamala doing any of this stuff, you better believe they'd have 24/7 news coverage regarding it. But because it's Trump and his regime, it's not going to happen. That's not playing into the paradigm. That is showing that they're under the illusion of the delusion. Figure that one out. All right. I just wanted to throw that out there. So this is definitely going to be a lot of lawlessness that's going on. So first things that we're going to talk about is this. You guys ready for another war? Because it seems like they're stacking up to go to war again with Afghanistan here. It says Trump suggests U.S. troops could return to the base in Afghanistan, citing its proximity to rival China. It says Trump on Thursday suggested that he is working to reestablish a U.S. presence in Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan 4 years after America's chaotic withdrawal when the country left the base in the Taliban's hands. Trump floated the idea during a press conference with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer as he wrapped up a state visit to the UK, and it tied it to the need for the US to counter its top rival in China. There's a video out there. I don't have it available right now, but there's a video out there of him answering this question. And he said, maybe it's a little bit of breaking news, but yes, we are intending to go get the base back. So he says, we're trying to get it back, Trump said of the base in an aside to the question about ending Russia's invasion to the Ukraine. While Trump described his call for the U.S. military to establish a position in Afghanistan as breaking news, the Republican president has previously raised the idea. The White House did not immediately respond to questions about whether it or the Pentagon have done any planning around returning to the sprawling airbase, which was central to America's longest war. So a little stuff here that I always like to throw in to make sure that we're on the same page. A lot of people still believe, because it was reported this way and so on and so forth, that withdrawal from Afghanistan, you guys remember when there was all the people that were on the tarmac, they're trying to get onto the last couple planes that were leaving the region because it was a botched exit by the Biden administration and whatnot. It wasn't botched. It was planned that way. It was a trade. All the stuff that was left behind was a trade. And so we've gone over that. That was a long time ago. We went over all that stuff already. But yeah, that was not a botch. That was not a chaotic issue. That was something that was absolutely planned that way and then placed upon Biden, which again, he didn't know what was going on. He couldn't even tie a shoe during that time. So again, it's always important that we remember that as well. Also worth noting that this was in regards to what was going on with the Ukraine situation over there, which Trump has basically come out during this time and basically said he doesn't care. It doesn't involve the U.S. anymore, so he's not interested in the Ukraine war anymore, which is fascinating because he was the one that was campaigning over and over and over again that he was going to end it before he even took office. But this is part of that trust building. And I just put out the Redux thing of Operation Trust on Friday. Go check that out if you don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to this. But it's a plan of building up a trust in somebody so people will just unquestioningly go with what's being said. And so this is all playing a part into it as well. So there's a chance that this might be coming to fruition. And then this came out right afterwards. It says Taliban officials reject Trump Bagram airfield return suggestion. And go away, stupid video. Taliban officials rejected Trump's suggestion that Bagram airfield near Kabul could return to U.S. control after it was abandoned during the withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan under the Biden administration. The Taliban indicated it is willing to talk with the Trump administration about the airbase, which was built by the Soviet Union in the 1950s, but said no U.S. service members would be permitted. Zakir Halali, I don't know, an official at the Taliban Foreign Ministry said Thursday that the U.S. and Afghanistan can have economic and political relations based on mutual respect and shared interests, but the U.S. will not be allowed to have a military presence in the country, and so on and so forth. It's always fascinating whenever there's talks between the U.S. and the Taliban because the Taliban is a created CIA asset. So that's always funny. It brings me a laugh, at least, because it just goes to show how jacked up the geopolitical situation truly is when it comes to these organizations. And then this just came out today. It says Trump says bad things will happen if Afghanistan does not return Bagram Air Base. Says the U.S. President Trump on Saturday threatened Afghanistan if it does not give back control of the Bagram Air Base to the United States. If Afghanistan doesn't give Bagram Air Base back to those who built it, the United States of America, bad things are going to happen, in all caps, of course, because that means he's serious. That's how you know you're shouting in text. Trump said on a Truth Social post, which I actually have right here, that did come out today. If Afghanistan doesn't give Bagram Air Base back to those who built it, the United States of America, bad things are going to happen. Bad things, the worst things you've ever seen, the biggest, baddest things ever. It's because I'm the greatest, and so I do the greatest. And when it comes to the bad things, they're the greatest bad things you've ever seen, and bad things are going to happen like never before. So, Trump said on Thursday that the United States has sought to regain control of the base used by the American forces following the attacks of September 11th, 2001. He told reporters on Friday that he was speaking with Afghanistan about it. The withdrawal of American forces in 2021 led to the takeover of the base by the Islamic Taliban movement. Afghan officials have expressed opposition to a revived U.S. presence and so on and so forth. So, there's a theme that I'm starting to see, and I'm curious if you guys are seeing it too. That there seems to be more and more driving towards multiple front wars coming from the United States. And a key thing, which a lot of people might not really think of it that way, but I think a key thing of it is a signal of changing the Department of Defense to the Department of War. Meanwhile, you're starting something with Venezuela. You're starting something with Afghanistan. You still got the Ukraine thing that's going on there. You now backed out of defending Taiwan from China, so you got something interesting happening there. And there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, plus all the Middle East. The Middle East is just a hodgepodge of chaos. And so we're starting to see a lot of fronts beginning to form. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to take hold and things start kicking off. I'm not saying that. But what I do find fascinating is we're starting to see that this guy was supposed to be the one that ends wars and whatnot, which again, I've gone over that in the Trump card episode that I did last year, where everybody calls Obama the drone king, but it was actually Trump that dropped more bombs than Obama ever did, which is fascinating. Now, I'm not letting Obama off the hook in any way, shape, or form, but it's just something to remember that we get fed one thing, even though the truth says something else. And so this guy's supposed to be the one that ends wars and creates peace, but we're starting to see more chaos under him, which is fascinating because I've shown this before with the top witch who's connected straight to the Rothschild family of Marina Abramovic. And she has said multiple times that Trump is the one that is the chaos magician. He's the one that is different from everything else. He's the one that brings in the New World Order because he's different. And what follows through his chaos is a new order. And I've shown the videos before. She said that multiple times. One in 2022, 23, and then one in 2024, I believe. But yeah, she said this. And that's somebody that is worth, when she speaks in that way, we know she is evil to the core, but she's all hooked up into the demonic. She's hooked up with the Satanist movement. She's connected to the satanic demons that are in control. She speaks to them. That's what she does. And so when she comes out and says something like that and says he's the chaos magician and he's the one that's going to, through his chaos, usher in this new world order, we should probably listen. This is the spiritual element of things. We get caught up in the physical. We get caught up in the materialistic. We get caught up in all the stuff that the world is throwing at us. But we have to remember this thing is spiritual to the core. And when I saw both of those instances of her saying that, I think it's telling. And what we see happening now is through the chaos. It's a different kind of chaos than the chaos that Biden administration during that time was doing it, but it's still chaos, and it's a chaos that allows the ability for the new world order to come through. I hope you guys are recognizing that. I hope you guys are seeing that. If you're not seeing that yet, take a little time and start looking at it from that perspective. Be willing to, because that's definitely what we're seeing happen right now. Now, what's going on here? People arguing in there. My word, it's not worth arguing. All right, so this next thing, I think it was Patrick. Was it last week? You were asking me about my thoughts regarding the quote unquote Russian drones that went into Poland and whatnot, and and I said, are we sure that they were Russian drones? We got to remember, nothing is ever as it seems. And so hopefully this will answer some of your questions. Answer some of your question on that one. Poland admits F-16 missile strike on residential building in Yerki, not Russian drone. So the reports that we heard was Russia sent drones into Poland and bombed them. They launched a bomb at them. No, Poland shot themselves with their own missile. That's this is always interesting. Yeah, Poland, their own jets launched missiles at themselves on this residential building in the small Polish town of Yiki, I don't know, located in the Lublin. You guys can see it. Volvo dealership. That's kind of what I see. Volvo dealership. I don't know. Was struck by a missile fired from the Polish Air Force F-16. Officials confirmed, exposing a rare and alarming error in military operations. Poland's a coordinator of special services, acknowledged the incident during a broadcast on TV N24, saying that the preliminary evidence indicated a missile rather than a drone had hit the structure. The confirmation follows several days of confusion and conflicting reports highlighting both operational risks and scrutiny of Poland's Air Force readiness and overall military proficiency, particularly as tensions related to the ongoing Ukraine conflict and Russian military operations in Ukraine put regional security on high alert. Analysts noted that the misfire could have implications for Poland's preparedness amid the escalating war in Ukraine. There's a whole bunch of stuff on that, but we don't need to get into it. It's just random details with that. The reason why I'm bringing this up, because this is important, is first of all, we hear Russian drones. That's what we heard. Russian drones came in, struck Poland, and now Poland is going Article 4 with NATO because they got hit, and so all of NATO needs to get ready to defend and so on and so forth. But ultimately what happened is we know that drones of some type were there could have been Polish drones too, something to keep in mind. And it was Poland's own jet that bombed themselves, that struck themselves. And so this is why we got to be careful when it comes to these reports, especially when it comes to geopolitical tensions like this, that just because they're reporting that it was a Russian drone. Now, I'm not saying it could have been a Russian drone. I'm not saying that it couldn't have been, but it could have easily just been a Polish drone or a drone from another country that came over. And this is the reaction that we get out of it to start stirring stuff up. So these are things to pay attention to. I think there's another country that just had a report of Russian drones breaking their airspace as well. No bombings this time. I can't remember who it was. I'm sure somebody in the chat knows. You guys can put it in there. I can't remember. But yeah, there's just another report of quote unquote Russian drones going through that region. Estonia. Yeah, that sounds right. Estonia. They said that they saw drones passing through. That's right. And so they're now going along with it as well. So again, this is one of those things, and this is another lesson. I think that especially during this time right now, this is a good opportunity for us to get a hold of our emotional intelligence, our emotional responses to these things, because a lot of this stuff is built to just get an initial shock and get us to start going on our emotions, whether it's to make us angry, make us sad, or however it is. It's built to do that. And so we lose the ability to critical think. We lose the ability to pause and just look at something when we just instantly jump onto the first reaction. So whenever we see something, Russia drone bombs Poland, Poland invokes Article 4 for NATO, it's like, oh my gosh. But we need to calm down for a second and just kind of go, okay, was it really Russian? What was the actual explosion? What's the deal? What's the timing with everything else in the world right now? Is it really ready for anything to kick off of that type of magnitude and scale? I would say no. That's just my personal opinion. You can have a different one if you want. But yeah, we just need to pause and kind of get our emotions under control and under check as we go things, as we see these things unfold in front of us right now. So definitely worth keeping track, and we'll talk a little bit more about the emotional responses a little bit later. My word. Yeah, we'll get to that though. All right, sticking with geopolitical stuff because I think this is worth mentioning as well. This kind of snuck through. Saudi Arabia signs a mutual defense pact with nuclear-armed Pakistan after Israel's attack on Qatar. So Saudi Arabia and nuclear-armed Pakistan have signed a mutual defense pact that defines any attack on either nation as an attack on both. So kind of like the Article 4 of NATO, but between these two countries. A key accord in the wake of Israel's strike on Qatar last week, which again, I still stand by the belief that Qatar, the United States, and Saudi Arabia all knew, and Hamas all knew that was going to happen. But we'll just leave that there. The kingdom has long had close economic, religious, and security ties to Pakistan, including reportedly providing funding for Islamabad's nuclear weapons program as it developed. Analysts and Pakistani diplomats, in at least one case, have suggested over the years that Saudi Arabia could be included under Islamabad's nuclear umbrella, particularly as tensions have risen over Iran's atomic program. But the timing of the pact appeared to be a signal to Israel, long suspected to be the Middle East's only nuclear-armed state, which has conducted a sprawling military offensive since Hamas' October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel, stretching across Iran, Lebanon, and Palestinian territories, Qatar, Syria, and Yemen. Israel did not respond to requests for comment. The pact marks its first major defense decision by Gulf Arab countries since the Qatar attack. The United States, long the security guarantor for the Gulf Arab states, also did not respond to questions posed to the State Department. So you guys can go and check out more of that if you want to see the details of how it goes. But I do find it interesting, and it's worth noting whenever you see Saudi Arabia initiating or signing, or however you want to put it, some type of pact with another country in that region, just because we're kind of seeing pieces lining up for we know eventual events that are going to unfold in the Middle East, and it's worth noting some of these moves and stuff like that. No, this does not mean Ezekiel 38 is going to happen tomorrow. Ezekiel 38 is not set for that yet. So I know that's one of the main talking points that a lot of these prophecy channels like to put out whenever there's anything like this. Ezekiel 38's right around the corner. Is this it? And Ezekiel 38's not ready yet. There are people way out of position for that. There are things that need to happen first before that happens. So no, that's not that. But this is another lining of pieces that could be a part of the eventual prophecy that we know will happen because the Bible says so. So just want to put that out there for there. So, okay. Now that we're out of the geopolitical stuff, let's go ahead and move over here stateside to what we got going on. And we knew this was going to happen. We called it. We called it, guys. About, a month, 2 months ago, something like that. I can't remember what it is. We called that this was going to happen. And here we go. Hundreds of Alligator Alcatraz detainees drop off the grid after leaving site. This was the thing that we were warning about months ago because you have a whole bunch of mercenary dudes with their faces covered. Nobody has any idea who they are, snatching up people, which we have shown that they're not only snatching illegal immigrants, but they are snatching U.S.-born citizens. They're doing both and throwing them into places, and then these people are just disappearing. Nobody has a clue where they're going. Are they being deported? Are they being sent to a different center? Or use your imagination. I'm sure you guys know what I'm referencing at this point. And here it goes. For hundreds of men who were detained at Alligator Alcatraz, entering the gates of the makeshift migrant detention center in the Everglades, meant exiting the labyrinth but familiar federal immigration process and entering what several immigration attorneys described as an alternate system where the normal rules don't apply. One Guatemalan man detained at the tent site was accidentally deported to Guatemala before a scheduled bond hearing, his attorney said. Same with the Garcia dude who was sent to El Salvador. 35-year-old Cuban man could not be located at the California detention facility where U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement said they had sent him, leaving his family and attorney frantically trying to determine where he was for more than a week. At the end of August, the whereabouts of 2/3 of more than 1,800 men detained at Alligator Alcatraz during the month of July could not be determined by the Miami Herald. The Herald had obtained the names from 2 detainee rosters. Around 800 detainees showed no record on ICE's online database. More than 450 listed no location and only instructed the user to call ICE for details. A vague notation that attorneys could not said could mean that a detainee is still being processed in the middle of a transfer between 2 sites or about to be deported. It's possible that some of the men who couldn't be located were still at Alligator Alcatraz. Unlike most immigration detention centers, Alcatraz is state-run and detainees often do not appear in a database run by the federal agency. Florida does not maintain a system to look up those detained at the site either. But that couldn't have accounted for all the detainees who no record in the federal database because the facility's population had declined dramatically by late August, falling below 400 people, which we reported on that as well. As an August 21st court ruling effectively halted operations at the site. The outcome for the detainees who have been housed at the facility have taken on new significance after the appeals court overturned that earlier ruling, allowing the facility to resume operations. So here's the thing, and I want to throw this out there. I always like to throw this out there because I know that there's people who watch who don't comment or anything like that, who fume because they think that I'm a leftist calling this type of stuff out because I have a vendetta against Trump, which is not true. What I want to point out on this is we've got hundreds of people disappearing. And these are just the ones from Alligator Alcatraz. This is happening all over the country. Hundreds of people just dropping off the map. They get picked up and nobody has a clue where they're at. Nobody ever sees them, hears from them again. They're just gone. Same thing that happened at the border during the Biden administration when all the children and stuff were getting locked in cages and then all of a sudden disappearing. It's the same exact situation. But because it's Trump, because you're falling for the political illusion, it's okay. If you're watching this and you are still under the satanic spell of the political paradigm, the left-right paradigm, you need to slap yourself and get out of your own way and see that everything that's going on, doesn't matter if it's right, left, red, blue, RD, doesn't matter what it is the same lawlessness, the same corruption that's happening on both sides. I am sick of the left versus right paradigm that's going on right now. And I'm specifically talking about the church. The secular world is lost when it comes to that. I understand that. But I'm talking about what's going on in the church right now. And if you're a pastor that is continuing to push this garbage of Biden and Trump and left and right and stuff like that, you need to get out of your own way and you need to get into some serious prayer because this is getting old. You have people falling off the face of the earth. And you're going to sit there and turn it into a political game. These are human lives that we don't have any idea what's happening to them. Children, men, women, don't care. They're human lives. We have no idea what's happening to them. I don't care who's in control. I don't. It could be Mr. Rogers for all I care. If this is still happening, I will call out Mr. Rogers. But these are human lives that we have no idea what's happening to them. I take on a very odd approach today where I'm looking at it going, are these souls saved? These people, whether they're here illegally or not, are they saved? And whatever's happening to them after this, do they have the opportunity? But because you are too busy saying, well, under Biden's administration, you're leaving out the most important part that we are called to care about. That's what I'm fed up about. I think it's disgusting if you're taking things like this and turning it to a political crusade. And I'm going to burn some people right now, but I don't care. Exactly as Charlie Kirk did his entire career. We'll get to that a little bit later. I say that on purpose. Sticking with corruption, we have this. Now, this is some interesting stuff here. This just goes to show where we are on these things. It says the SEC drops case against Nikola founder Trevor Milton after the Trump pardon. It says the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has moved to dismiss its case against Trevor Milton, the founder and former CEO of Nikola, the electric and hydrogen truck startup. The decision, filed Thursday in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York, follows Milton's recent pardon by Donald Trump. The case, originally brought in 2021, accused Milton of misleading investors by falsely claiming Nikola had built its own electric and hydrogen-powered pickup and developed in-house battery technology despite outsourcing these components. Milton agreed to waive his right to recover legal costs and released all claims against the agency, according to the filing. Nikola's credibility collapsed in 2020 after Hindenburg Research, a prominent short seller, accused the company of exaggerating its technological capabilities. Among the claims was a promotional video showing a truck appearing to drive at high speed when it was actually rolling downhill. The report triggered a massive sell-off in Nikola's stock and led to Milton's resignation. In October of 2022, Milton was convicted on securities fraud and wire fraud charges for deceiving investors. A 2023 jury verdict further cemented his guilt, resulting in a 4-year prison sentence. Despite the SEC's dismissal, Milton's criminal convictions remained a major chapter in one of the most high-profile scandals in the electric vehicle industry. So the SEC drops the case against Nikola founder Trevor Milton after Trump pardons him. What's fascinating, though, is we just got this, which is part of the documents for the recent drop in the investigation. This is dated September 10th, 2025. His lawyer, counsel for defendant Trevor Milton, his lawyer is Brad Bondy. If you guys don't know who Brad Bondi is the brother of Pam Bondi. Think there's a connection there? Along with that, we have this. Convicted of bilking investors, Nikola founder and Trump donor gets a presidential pardon. Trevor Milton, the founder of electric vehicle startup Nikola, who was sentenced to prison last year for fraud, was pardoned by Trump, the White House confirmed. The pardon of Milton, who was sentenced to 4 years in prison for exaggerating the potential of his technology, could wipe out hundreds of millions of dollars in reinstitution, and prosecutors were seeking for defrauded investors. Milton, 42, and his wife donated more than $1.8 million to Trump re-election campaign fund less than a month before the November election. So he donated almost $2 million to Trump's re-election campaign, and he hired Pam Bondi's brother to represent him. And he got a pardon, and he got the case dropped because of it. This is not the first time that this has happened. Go back to August of this year. A woman accused of fraud hired the attorney general's brother as her lawyer. Months later, DOJ dropped the charges. The woman was represented by Brad Bondi, brother of attorney general Pam Bondi. And then this happened in August 28th of this year. Department of Justice drops charges against another client of attorney general Pam Bondi's brother, Brad. The DOJ spokesperson said Attorney General Pam Bondi had no role in the decision. So apparently, if you guys go and do some really messed up, lawless stuff out there in the world, just make sure you guys go ahead and hire Pam Bondi's brother and donate a few million bucks to Trump's campaign, and they'll get you off. We've reported on several of these things before, not just the ones that we pulled up there, but I've reported on a few other ones as well where there was a connection of whether it was donations or whether it was Brad Bondi again, or another lawyer that worked at the law office of Pam Bondi before she became attorney general. And all of a sudden, all these people are let off the hook. Cases dropped, sentences removed, people released, and so on and so forth. It's a sign of corruption. This is the type of corruption that we see in movies of other countries, what they do all the time. We read in books, I can't think of the writer, Tom Clancy books and stuff, where there's government corruption going on, deals being made behind the scenes of well, this person knows this person and so on, so we're going to get you off type of thing. But this is what's happening in our own backyard right now. This is not new. This is what happens when you know people in politics and political power. This stuff happens. It doesn't matter if it's Trump, Biden, Obama, Bush, Clinton. It doesn't matter who it is, because this is how the government works. You have to remember, you take this all the way back to the biblical times where the Jewish people were begging for a king. God warned them and said, you don't want this, and listed off a whole bunch of reasons why you don't want. Go back and read those reasons why. I don't have all this stuff off the top of my head, guys. I'm sorry. But you guys can find it pretty easy. Go back and read the reasons why God listed that you don't want a king. It's the exact stuff that we are seeing today in our own country. Literally, the same warnings that God gave back then about getting a king is the same stuff that we are still seeing today. God was right again. Chalk it up on the chalkboard. How many chalkboards do we need in order to keep count of that? I'll tell you what. But this is exactly what we are seeing today, and it doesn't matter who is in control. The fact is if you are sitting in that position, you are playing a role in it. Now, I'm not saying every single person sitting there is evil. I'm not saying that. There are some people in there that are just, they don't know any better. They're just trying to do what they're going to do. But there's very few of those people. I'll tell you what, I believe that. There's very few of them. But most of them are there because they've been blackmailed to, they've been given promises, they make bank money, they get extra rewards for what they do, they get to live in lawlessness and get to do all these things, and they just go along. They play the part that they're supposed to be playing, and they just keep doing what they're doing. We were just having a discussion a couple weeks ago with my dad, and I said, yeah, you go back to, I'm not going to get into the discussion, I'm not certainly defending, I don't even like the term, but the beginning of this country itself, the people who were involved. I'm not getting into that discussion. But still, we were talking about, you go back to the first Congress of this country, it was a volunteer position. You look at it now, and it's a career, and you're going to make more money than, well, maybe not the sports stuff. The athletes get paid so much now. It's stupid. But still, it was a volunteer position back then. Not anymore, because it shifted that way. It's built to fall apart. It is. And so that's what we're seeing right now. All right. Sticking with more corruption. Just wanted to point this out because I think it's worth pointing out. Again, I still hold the position that all this stuff, if you're seeing it in the media, it's meant to be there for you to see. That's a great way to live by when it comes to these things. When you see something in the main media, now I'm not talking about independent journalists who manage to find stuff on their own and everything like that. That's great. But if it's in the mainstream media, it is there for you to see. And so I still think all this Epstein stuff that's coming out, we know what's involved with that. We know who's involved. And to a certain extent, we don't have all the answers. That iceberg goes deep, man. We're never going to find out that stuff. But still, we know for the most part. But everything that we're seeing in the media regarding it, I believe, is there to distract us from stuff. But I still want to point this out, just to let you guys know. House Judiciary's Republican reject vote to subpoena major banks in Epstein case. This is a near party line vote squashed the effort to vote on a subpoena with Thomas Massey, who is leading separate effort to force the Justice Department to release more Epstein case materials, voting alongside Democrats. The vote, if successful, would have resulted in the issuing of subpoenas to JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon, Bank of America CEO Brian Moynihan, Deutsche Bank CEO Christian Sewing, and Bank of New York Mellon CEO Robin Vince. But of course, you don't want the bankers getting their names smeared as well. We've gone over some of this stuff years ago. There's more banks involved. There's more people involved, and it's a rabbit hole that just keeps going. The subpoenas would have specifically looked into multiple reports that claim the four banks flagged 1.5 billion in suspicious transactions linked to Epstein. The failed effort from Democrats followed an FBI oversight hearing in which agency director Kash Patel misleadingly claimed that the FBI cannot release many of the files it has on Epstein. And then this was also during the time that Kash Patel came out and said, without a doubt, unequivocally, Trump is not in the Epstein files. And then he retracted that, of course. If you guys can't tell, Kash Patel is just a patsy. I hope you guys can see that now. Kash Patel's not in charge of anything. He's there to look like a deer in the headlights, which if you ever look at his face head on, that's what he looks like. It's true. But yeah, he's there to be a patsy. And so don't ever believe anything that comes out of that dude's mouth. I'll tell you what. Okay. Whew. Think we're doing okay on time. We gotta keep moving. Everybody good? Everybody still here? Hope y'all are sticking around. Let's keep going. All right. So I'm keeping track of this Venezuela stuff because I think it's worth keeping track of. And so this past week, the U.S. forces sank a third and a fourth boat suspected of drug trafficking in the Caribbean. So we've got 4 boats that have been sunk by the U.S. military that they claim were carrying drugs. But if we look at this, it says U.S. official says personnel from Navy ship inspected Venezuelan fishing boat for drugs. The Venezuelan government criticized the action. No drugs were found. This is a report from September 13th. The Venezuela government accused the U.S. personnel of boarding and occupying a civilian fishing boat on Friday in the latest example of tensions as the U.S. carries out counter-narco-terror operations in the Caribbean. A U.S. official told ABC News that the Coast Guard personnel stationed aboard the U.S. Navy destroyer USS Jason Dunham searched the fishing boat for drugs following a tip, but did not locate any contraband. Venezuela's Foreign Ministry office claimed Saturday that the U.S. Navy deployed 18 personnel with long-range weapons who boarded and occupied the Venezuelan fishing vessel in waters within Venezuela's exclusive economic zone. And it says, the U.S. official with knowledge of the incident confirmed that the Jason Dunham received information on board the Venezuelan small craft to see if it was carrying drugs. The law enforcement detachment aboard the destroyer boarded the Venezuelan craft and carried out a search that turned up no drugs, according to said official. This kind of goes in line with the same thing that I said when we saw the first boat get hit. It was a speedboat that they claimed 11 people were killed. I'm not a drug expert. I'm not a cartel person. I'm not a drug trafficking expert. I'm not. But drug trafficking 101 is the more people you have on a boat, and this was a speedboat, the more people that you have on a boat, the less room that you have for cargo. Drug traffickers don't travel with 11 people on a speedboat. They just don't. Unless they are brand new to the game, which I highly doubt that. And so I'm just sitting here and I'm looking at this stuff, and we've gotten zero confirmation from any of them that there's been drugs found on any of these boats. There's been no confirmation from any of the 4 boats that have been hit that there was drugs present. No confirmation whatsoever. We're just getting shown video and getting told that they blew up another boat with, I think we've only heard from a couple of them how many people were killed, and we're getting no confirmation of anything. So this is a situation, and we got to remember, who's the number 1 drug trafficker in the world? It's a 3-letter organization. Yes, they are the number 1 drug trafficking organization in the world. None of this adds up. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have the answers for it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you who's involved or what they know, or if there was drugs, if there wasn't drugs, if these were maybe human trafficking or trafficking something else. I don't know. I don't have any of that information. I don't think any of us do. But what I can tell you is from the information that we have available to us, it's not adding up. It seems to me that this is a front for something else. And again, I don't know what that is. I'm not even going to pretend to speculate. Patrick Starr is correct. CIA, the number 1 drug trafficker in the world. But yeah, this isn't adding up. So again, as I've said every time that I've brought this forward, just keep an eye on that whole area over there, the Venezuela area. Something is just not fitting. And I hate it when you have one hole left on a puzzle and the piece that you have doesn't fit in that hole. There's something wrong. Something's not adding up. So just keep an eye on it. And if you guys find anything, let me know, please. Because this is interesting to me, this Venezuelan thing. Something's fishy. I just get a gut feeling every once in a while. And that's one that I have a gut feeling. Okay. Let's go ahead and move back over to what's going on with border situation. And here we go. A new defense bill could further privatize border control. This year's congressional defense spending bill would further entrench the military's role at the U.S. border and, for the first time, allow the Department of Defense to outsource border security work to private contractors. This goes right along with everything that we've seen so far with this administration and the transition that we are seeing towards a corporatism structure, fascist structure. It's privatization. It's bringing in private contractors. The entire military is basically getting contracted out now. The government itself is contracting itself out to corporations. And now we're getting to the point now, and we've already talked about how ICE is already hiring mercenaries anyways to come in and do what they're doing. But now we're talking about a border patrol that's going to be private contractors. And we've talked about this before. If you guys remember, when we did the deep dive on the wellness company, we did a little bit of research on Eric Prince, the Blackwater boy, and whatnot. And this was something that he brought up in April. If you guys remember this is from April of this year. Military contractors pitch unprecedented prison plan for detained immigrants. Eric Prince, Blackwater boy, wants to cut a deal to transport detainees from the U.S. to El Salvador. Former Blackwater CEO Eric Prince and a team of defense contractors are pitching to the White House on a plan to vastly expand deportations to El Salvador, transporting thousands of immigrants from U.S. holding facilities to sprawling maximum security prisons in Central America. He's one that's been leading the charge when it comes to privatizing the border, bringing in mercenaries and contractors to do the border stuff. And now, sneaking in to the defense bill will grant the Department of Defense that exact ability. Everybody feeling all warm and fuzzy inside now? I hope that you are. It says the $893 billion with a B billion defense policy bill that passed the House of Representatives last week could grant the Department of Defense unprecedented new authority to deploy private military contractors to the United States southern border. Just what we need, more mercenaries inside the United States. Provision in the legislation tacked on in a July amendment for the first time gives the Defense Secretary authority to outsource the agency's work at the border, a proposal that critics warn could prove a bonanza for the shadowy, mercenary, and private security firms that work with the Pentagon, often with little public transparency. And that's key. If you don't know how this stuff works, when it comes to things like mercenaries, private contractors, security firms, and all those types of things, because they're private, they can do things off the books. If they get caught doing something or they're doing something illegal and so on and so forth, the government can detach themselves. They can remove themselves, and they have no liability whatsoever with what those private groups do. So if you unleash border security that are mercenaries, paid mercenaries, to go and do these things, and they start doing whatever they want to, let your imagination fly on that one. I'm sure everybody can come up with a list of things. The U.S. military will not be held responsible for it. Just think. You want to talk about inmates running the asylum. That's exactly what this is. You're talking about paid dudes that like killing people so much, they sign up for a job where they get paid to do it. And they're the ones that are going to be patrolling borders. Think about that for a second. The provision was drafted by a lawmaker who has received significant contributions from defense industry giants, including Lockheed Martin and RTX. While the language was included in the final text of the House bill, the Senate has yet to pass the final version, so it's not clear whether the proposal will advance to Trump's desk. Push comes as the lines between military operations and immigration enforcement, historically a hazy distinction, becomes further blurred under Trump. The Trump administration has sent thousands more active duty troops to aid border operations and establish several so-called national defense areas along the southern border, granting military personnel new arrest powers from Arizona to Texas, which this is all completely against the Constitution. It is so illegal. But they are finding every opportunity and every loophole that they can to make this stuff happen. All while deploying the National Guard and the Marines to Los Angeles to quell resistance. And now they're getting ready to deploy those to Memphis. And they're talking about New Orleans and still want to do Chicago and New York. And again, it's just think. Again, this is for the people watching who still are under the whole left-right paradigm. If there was a Democrat doing any of this, you would be up in arms. But because it's Trump, you're okay with it. Don't fall for that. Break free of that. And just view it from the thing of, this is not going to end well. This can't end well. When you give them an inch, they will take that inch. When you give them another mile after that inch, they will take that mile, and they're never going to give it back. Once you give it to them, it's gone. That's history. The moment that you give them this, they don't ever give it back. Whatever plans that they have with this, and everybody's imagination can start going into different scenarios, which feel free to speculate on your own time. I'm not going to speculate. It does no good for us to do that. But they're clearly setting up for something. For the moment, the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees both immigration and customs enforcement and customs and border protection, is the agency granted the authority to outsource border operations to private vendors, like the private security firms transporting immigrants around the country. Again, those are the hired mercenaries that we already have happening right now. And the defense technology companies that sell border surveillance tech, Palantir and Dural, and there's some other ones as well. I can't think of off the top of my head. The new proposal could further expand the role of private contractors in border operations, this time under the watch of the Defense Department, which has a long history of wasteful, unaccountable spending on private vendors, which they absolutely do. Already, the use of private contractors by the Department of Homeland Security to run ICE's deportation machines has invited scrutiny. The private firms profiting from the ICE's raids and sprawling detention systems are often shadowy, offering little transparency to the public, even as they are accused of misconduct and abuses. Says Dylan Hetler-Gaudet, the Director of Government Affairs at the federal watchdog group Project on Government Oversight called The Provision, extremely dangerous. I would say so. So this might be going through with the NDAA. So that should be fascinating to watch. This could be, and I'm just saying, it's an option, because we're always hearing about how can the National Guard go into places. There has to be certain requirements fulfilled, legal requirements fulfilled, in order for them to lawfully be deployed in cities and whatnot. This is an opportunity that could make it so, we don't have to send the National Guard to Chicago and New York, even though we got to figure out how to make that happen. We'll just send a private contractor to do it. We'll just send mercenaries to go in there and do it. And then you'll have dudes walking down the street in tactical gear with masks on that are paid people walking down the streets doing what they're doing, like they did in Washington, D.C. Something to think about. Something to think about. Especially since that was something that Eric Prince brought up in April. If that's not enough, let's move into reporting and information and knowledge and journalism and see what we got going on with this. This just came out yesterday. Pentagon demands journalists pledge to not obtain unauthorized material. A document spells out the latest in a series of escalating restrictions placed on the press corps, covering the Pentagon during Trump's second term. The Trump administration unveiled a new crackdown on Friday on journalists at the Pentagon, saying it will require them to pledge that they won't gather any information, even unclassified, that hasn't been expressly authorized for release, and will revoke the press credentials of those who do not obey. Under the policy, the Pentagon may revoke press passes for anyone it deems a security threat, possessing confidential or unauthorized information under the new rules would be grounds for a journalist's press pass to be revoked. The DOW, Department of Defense, remains committed to transparency to promote accountability and public trust, the document says, using an acronym for the newly rebranded Department of War. However, the information must be provided for public release by an appropriate and authorizing official before it is released, even if it is unclassified. What they are saying is if you are a journalist reporting on things happening in the Pentagon and the Department of Defense and so on and so forth, and if you come across something that is worth reporting, but they have not given you clearance, permission to release that information, then you can be your pass pulled and your job is done. They are basically saying, you must release the information that we give you. Otherwise, you can't be here. This is state media. Now, we already have state media as it is. That's an entire different conversation. We're not getting into that. This is the next level. This is literally the next level. If there is a journalist that is still somewhat of a journalist, and they come across information that's worth reporting, and if they get caught doing that, and that's a piece of information that they deemed wasn't available to go out, then it's all over. They're locking down the media. They're locking down journalism. They're locking down information. They're locking all of this stuff down. And it's only going to get worse. For months, Hegseth and his staff have been tightening restrictions on Pentagon reporters while limiting military personnel's direct communications with the press. Like many defense secretaries before him, Hegseth has been deeply irritated by leaks. His staff this year threatened to use polygraph tests to stop people from leaking information until the White House intervened. The 17-page document says media that wish to report from the Pentagon have to sign agreements restricting their movement in the building and stipulating that they not obtain or possess unauthorized material. Those who refuse to sign the new policy will be stripped of or denied permanent credentials to cover the Pentagon. The vast majority of the Pentagon's information has some level of sensitivity. For example, even the initial planning efforts for June's parade marking the Army's 250th anniversary, including how many tanks the Army would drive past Trump's review stand, was initially categorized as CUI, or for controlled unclassified information, which would have been barred from public access under the new rules. If you guys think this is going to be bad, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. So we have that. Then we have this. Trump floats pulling licenses if networks are against him after the Jimmy Kimmel suspension. You guys heard about the Jimmy Kimmel thing? The very unfunny and pathetic dude who thinks that people actually like him and care what he has to say, said some stuff regarding Charlie Kirk on his show. Wherever you stand on that, whatever. We're not getting into that conversation. But he was recently pulled from Nexar, the people who own all of that. They're the main company that owns all the networks. If you guys don't know, when it comes to the media, there's 5 companies that own all of the networks. That's how it works. And so it was the one of them that canceled this. And so after that, Trump said, well, we'll pull licenses of those who criticize me. Trump suggested that the federal government might revoke the licenses of broadcast television networks that are against him. Trump comment came a day after ABC suspended airing the Jimmy Kimmel Live show because of comments its host made linking the alleged killer of Charlie Kirk to Trump's MAGA movement. Trump said it would be up to the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, to decide whether to cancel networks' licenses. Trump on Thursday suggested that the federal government might revoke the licenses of broadcast television networks that are against him. And he basically said the Federal Communications Commission chairman Brendan Carr earlier on Wednesday had hinted that the broadcast license of ABC, which is a subsidiary of Disney, was at risk if it did not take action on Kimmel. Speaking on Thursday to reporters aboard Air Force One, Trump said, I have read someplace that the networks were 97% against me, again, 97% negative, and yet I won, and easily, all 7 swing states, referring to his 2024 election win. We've talked about this when it comes to Operation Trust. It was the campaign that was done by the Bolshevik Revolution and everything. Again, I just went over that on Friday's Redux release of the Psy War. So if you want to know more about that, go check it out. But the goal is if you want somebody to garner the people's opinion, is you start telling the media to go against that person, and society will then start to build more trust and support the person that the media is going against, as opposed to siding with the media. And that's exactly what we saw during 2024 when it comes to the media campaigns. I mean, we saw, if you were paying attention, you saw that as the more and more and more that the media pushed against Trump, more and more of society went for Trump because of it. And so they pulled out the old playbook. And so that's exactly what we see here. They give me only bad publicity press. I mean, they're getting a license, Trump said, according to audio from the press gaggle provided by the White House. I would think maybe their license should be taken away, Trump said. The president said that decision will be up to Brendan Carr. Trump specifically referred to criticism he has gotten from Kimmel and CBS late night talk show host Stephen Colbert, another person who's not funny at all. Look, that's something that should be talked about for licensing too, Trump said. When you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, he said, that's all they do. If you go back, I guess they haven't had a conservative on in years or something, somebody said. But when you go back, take a look, and all they do is hit Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. They're an arm of the Democrat Party. Carr earlier Thursday told CNBC's Squawk on the Street that we're not done yet with changes in the media ecosystem that are consequences of Trump election. I think Brendan Carr is outstanding. He's a patriot, said Trump, who nominated Carr to his position. He loves our country, and he's a tough guy, so we'll have to see. Well, the thing with this is Brendan Carr is one of the authors of Agenda 2025, which is the main thing that's leading everything that we see right now. Agenda 2025, it's a big, long thing. We've kind of gone over bits and pieces here and there and stuff like that, but it's a combining of fascism, a combining of Christian nationalism, and a combining of the Dark Enlightenment movement that goes into people like Curtis Yarvin, Peter Thiel, and yes, even people like Charlie Kirk. We've talked about that before. Charlie Kirk was in favor of Curtis Yarvin's Dark Enlightenment and everything. There's another one for you. Stuff that you won't ever hear come out of the mouth of a pastor or prophecy guy. But that's what's going on. Brendan Carr is one of the authors of that thing. And so when the news broke about Jimmy Kimmel getting released, somebody left a comment. This is Kevin McHale. I don't know who it is. Just a random dude. Said, this is all Project 2025, by the way. And Brendan Carr himself posted a GIF of Jack Nicholson doing the yes nod from The Departed. So if you guys know that GIF that happens, he responded and said, yep, this is part of 2025. He confirmed it and said that's exactly what's going on. And so if we look at this, here's the different authors of Project 2025 and their role in the Trump administration. If you go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 6 here, Brendan Carr, FCC Commissioner. He is part of the authorship of Project 2025. This is from November 19th of last year. Trump's FCC pick, Brendan Carr, wrote Project 2025's chapter on the agency, and here's what he wants. President-elect Donald Trump's pick to run the Federal Communications Commission, Brendan Carr, will oversee the agency that regulates U.S. internet access and communication networks such as TV and radio. Carr believes it's an institution ripe for change, according to the chapter he wrote in Project 2025 about the FCC. Carr will be stepping into the role of FCC chair after serving as one of its 5 commissioners since 2017, when Trump nominated him to the role during his first administration. Prior to that, Carr served as the agency's general counsel. The FCC may not be a household name to most Americans, but the agency enforces communication laws, runs programs to help communities gain access to high-speed internet, and regulates communication services, including satellite internet access, among other tasks. But under Carr, the agency may pivot to some new priorities during Trump's next term, which is renewed focus on battling big technology companies, which they're all partnering with, and Chinese-based telecom firms, which again, they're all connected to anyways. The FCC needs to change course and bring new urgency to achieving 4 main goals, including reining in big tech, Carr wrote in his chapter on the FCC Project 2025 policy blueprint published by the Heritage Foundation, and so on and so forth. There's other stuff. We're not going to get into it. I think we're getting the idea of what's going on. Is they're trying to use the FCC to transform it into this new state-run fascist media group. People thought it was, state-run before. This is going to be a little bit different. You're talking about taking it from corrupted lobbyists media to like stuff that you would see in 1930s Germany, 1920s Italy, and so on and so forth. Look at modern day China and North Korea and stuff now as well. That's what they're trying to transform it into. There's also a connection to all this, though, because Brendan Carr has a wife. Who is Michaela Carr? All about Donald Trump's FCC chair pick, Brendan Carr's wife. So who is this lady? Who is Michaela Carr? Well, let's take a look. Michaela Carr, who's the wife of Brendan Carr, is a trusted and strategic counselor with decades of private sector and government experience. She currently serves as head of global policy at Palantir Technologies. You thought I would go a whole episode without mentioning Palantir, did you? That's right. Brendan Carr, author of the FCC part of the Project 2025, who is helping shape the media. His wife is head of global policy at Palantir Technologies. She previously served as a top staffer in Article 1 as chief of staff to Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy as well. Let's just throw that on there. You couldn't write a better show. I'm telling you. You could not write a better show. The authors of this theater script, bravo. Bravo. Because the corrupted lawlessness just keeps on going. That web just keeps on spinning. It is absolutely incredible to watch the connections of all these things. Just bravo. Just bravo. All right. Let's just keep going. Tom Homan. You guys remember Tom Homan? He's the dude who's basically been raging war when it comes to the immigration and border and stuff like that. Yeah, Tom Homan was investigated for accepting $50,000 from undercover FBI agents. Trump's Department of Justice shut it down. The FBI and justice officials closed the investigation, which a Justice Department appointee had called a quote-unquote deep state probe in early 2025. We've gone over this before. There's no such thing as the deep state. It's just the state. If you think that there's a deep state, then you believe that the state is actually against the deep state, and that's just fabrication, baby. That's just continuing on with the left-right paradigm. In an undercover under operation last year, the FBI recorded Tom Homan, now the White House border czar, accepting $50,000 in cash after indicating that he could help the agents who were posing as business executives win government contracts in the second Trump administration, according to multiple people familiar with the probe and internal documents reviewed by MSNBC. The FBI and the Justice Department plan to wait and see whether Homan would deliver on his alleged promise once he became the nation's top immigration official, but the case indefinitely stalled soon after Donald Trump became president again in January. According to 6 sources familiar with the matters, in recent weeks, Trump appointees officially closed the investigation after FBI Director Kash Patel requested a status on the case. 2 people said. It's unclear what reasons the FBI and Justice Department gave for shutting down the investigation, but a Trump Department of Justice appointee called the case a quote-unquote deep state probe in early 2025 with no further investigative steps were taken. So, FBI guys came and offered Tom Homan $50,000 for government contracts. He took the money. Trump takes office. Investigation dropped. Pretty simple. My opinion. It immediately brought this to mind. We investigated ourselves and we found we did nothing wrong. That's what came to my mind, because that's exactly what this is. Whenever you see internal investigations and stuff like that, that's exactly what comes to mind. We investigated ourselves and we found that we did nothing wrong. It just goes, I mean, we've already seen how many lawsuits dropped against people who donate to Trump or hire Pam Boondi's brother, and so on and so forth. We see all this stuff happening and everything. It just goes to show how absolutely corrupt and lawless the governments are right now. Absolutely how lawless everything is now. This is lawlessness. You don't ever hear people bring this stuff up, though. Because people still trust these people. Because they are giving them breadcrumbs of things that they hoped for, that these people promised them. And they're going, well, they're giving us little things in here and so we're just going to look past everything. We're just going to accept whatever's going on. But the problem is, this is lawlessness. When we read about the last days and the increased lawlessness, and we're only seeing the beginnings of that, we know, because the man of lawlessness himself hasn't even stepped onto the scene yet. But we're starting to see just how truly corrupt all this stuff is. And guys, I can tell you this, and I don't even know myself, but I can tell you this with certainty, that we don't even know the tip of the iceberg when it comes to how corrupt all these people are. And I'm not just talking about the United States. I'm talking about everywhere, all over the world. I don't care who you are. And I can say that with confidence, even though I don't know how far it goes. But we know that we're barely seeing anything when it comes to this. I want to play a video for you guys. It's from Pam Bondi. And it's going to be a clip from her from January. And then a clip from her just 5 days ago from this. And I want you to tell me if you can hear a difference in the message that's being said.
I believe in the freedom of speech. If I am Attorney General, I will not politicize that office. I will not target people simply because of their political affiliation.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society. We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
Fascinating. Because in January, she said, we won't target people. I believe in free speech. And then after Charlie Kirk, all of a sudden, there's now hate speech. The same thing that the left was spewing. Remember? That was what we kept hearing from the left. Hate speech, hate speech. Going after people with hate speech. She's doing the same thing, and now she's going to target people for doing it. This is not at all what we were about before, right? What's fascinating is the same people who voiced against hate speech, who said there's no such thing because there isn't, according to the law, according to the Constitution, and even a Supreme Court ruling of May of last year said hate speech does not exist. We have the God-given right to say whatever hateful, vile, disgusting things that we want to, as long as we do not bring imminent threat or danger to anybody from it. That is how it works. So if you want to be a racist pig, you have the right to do so. If you want to make fun of the death of somebody, you have the right to do so, as long as it doesn't bring immediate threat or danger to the person. That's why you can't run into a building and start shouting fire. That's illegal. That's how it works. But what I have noticed is after the Charlie Kirk thing, the same people who kept calling out the left for the hate speech, they're trying to weaponize hate speech, are now the same people trying to use that against those who are saying whatever they want about Charlie Kirk. Does that mean I agree with the disgusting things that they said? No. That's not what I'm saying. But they have every right to say it. But the same people who were against it before are now all of a sudden for it. I'll play it again just because.
I believe in the freedom of speech. If I am Attorney General, I will not politicize that office. I will not target people simply because of their political affiliation.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society. We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
It's amazing what 8 months and a death of a propaganda piece for the Trump administration does to somebody. Just saying. Move over to Oklahoma, shall we? Now, we're getting into a little bit of this stuff. Just a couple things. First of all, I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say some things to me and say some things about me, and I don't care. We've always had the position around here that we're going to say the things that need to be said, whether they seem harsh or so on and so forth, but they need to be said anyways. And so if you have a problem with what I say, I really don't care what you have, what you throw at me. I really don't. So say whatever you're going to say, whatever. But also we're going to get into a thing, and I want to make sure I say this because I know there's still people to this day who have seen all of this stuff go right by them because they're still trying to figure out if Kirk is alive or dead. It doesn't matter. That's why I didn't do anything on this. I'm still not doing anything on this. We're going to talk about some of the repercussions of it. But the fact is, it doesn't matter if he's alive or dead. And if you're still going down that rabbit hole and you are ignoring everything else going by you because you're trying to figure that out, you are falling into exactly what they want you to do. You're being distracted by something. So let's pay attention to what's following and what's coming and the repercussions of it, because that is much more important at this moment. Let's just stay focused, because a lot of people didn't even know about that Pam Bondi thing because they're still trying to figure out the thing itself. And it's ridiculous. Let's not fall into the distractions of things, and let's keep an eye on what's coming down the pike. Coming out of Oklahoma, we're on our last bit here. Hang with me, guys. I know it's a lot of information, but I want to talk about this. This is a bill that was introduced and put under the emergency category. I can't make it any bigger. I've tried, and I can't make it any bigger, so I apologize. I'll point out what I can on this. This is a bill coming out, second session, 60th legislature. This is under Senate Bill number 1187, and it is deemed an emergency bill. And it says, as introduced, an act relating to higher education stating legislative findings directing certain institutions of higher education to establish certain square or plaza for certain purpose, directing the Oklahoma State Regents for Higher Education to establish certain guidelines, requiring certain governing boards to submit certain plans to the legislature by a certain date, requiring the legislature to approve plans by certain methods, allowing approval to certain modifications, requiring squares or plaza to include certain signages, requiring plans to include certain statutes, requiring the legislation to approve certain statutes, authorizing acceptance of certain donations, and so on and so forth. What is this about? Oh, boy. Let's see here. A new section of law to be codified in the Oklahoma statutes is Section 3205.15 of Title 70, unless there is a created duplication, and numbering reads as follows. The legislature finds that 1. Charlie Kirk, born on October 14th, 1993, and tragically martyred, which I'm seeing that term thrown around everywhere, like people know the intentions of everything, and that's not true at all. I'll get to that in a second. Martyred by assassination on September 10th, 2025, was a fearless defender of free speech, the founder and chief executive officer of Turning Point USA, and the transformative force in empowering young Americans to engage in open, robust discourse on college campuses. In his honor and to perpetuate his legacy as a martyr for truth, faith, and the First Amendment, each institution, each college within the Oklahoma State system of higher education shall establish on its campus a dedicated square or plaza, and each such dedicated square or plaza shall be designated the Charlie Kirk Memorial Plaza to remind all to foster an environment of intellectual freedom, civic engagement, and the principles Charlie Kirk championed, ensuring that the future generations remember his courage, faith, sacrifice, and contributions to American liberty. Each institution of higher education, which, by the way, if you guys don't know, Oklahoma is ranked 50th of 50 when it comes to level of education. I kid you not, but this is what they're worried about. Each institution of higher education within the Oklahoma State system of higher education shall designate and develop a prominent area on its main campus as the Charlie Kirk Memorial Plaza. The square or plaza shall be located in a highly visible and easily accessible location, such as near a central quad, student union, or main entrance pathways to maximize public awareness and utilization. We just jump down here. Says each square or plaza shall include permanent signage commemorating Charlie Kirk's courage and faith and explaining the significance of Charlie Kirk as a voice of a generation, modern civil rights leader, vocal Christian, martyr for truth and faith, and free speech advocate. Square or plaza plans include a statue of Charlie Kirk sitting at a table with an empty seat across from him, or a statue of Charlie Kirk and his wife standing holding their children in their arms as a central element of the square or plaza design. The statue design and size shall be approved by the legislature as part of the overall design review approval process. So they are now making it mandatory for all higher education, all colleges, to have a Charlie Kirk square that either features a statue of him sitting at a table or him and his wife. Something stinks, y'all. Something stinks to high heavens. Now, because I've already have people accusing me of this before, even though I addressed this last time. I hope the dude was saved and he's in heaven. I do. I don't want anybody to go to hell. I don't. At the same time, I'm seeing people who are saying with authority that he's burning in hell. I'm seeing comments saying the dude's burning in hell. And I'm seeing people on the other side saying with authority, the dude was a Christian and he was killed for his faith. And I'm saying to both of you people, whether you're watching now or what, I'm saying to both of you people, you don't know that. You don't have the right to speak with authority that the dude is burning in hell or that he was saved and was killed for his faith, because you don't know that. Stop speaking with authority. If you want to have an opinion on that, that's fine. But for you that are going out there and declaring this to be the truth, God's honest truth, smack yourself, because you're a fool. I don't know, because I'm in a spot, first of all, I'm not God, but I'm in a spot where I've looked at the background of Charlie. I've looked at the background of Turning Point. I see the connections back there, but that only gives me so much information. And I'm telling you, from the information that I have found, just speaking on that information that I've reported for several years now, I've talked about Kirk and Turning Point for 2 years now, that those connections are not good. But I don't know where his heart lays when it comes to being with Jesus or not. I don't. But I hope that he gave his life to the Lord. before his passing. I do. But I know the company that he kept. And I know some of the things that he stood for, like Christian nationalism and the Project 2025 Dark Enlightenment philosophy and the dominionism that he held. He was a dominionist. I've seen that stuff. But that doesn't change the fact that I hope he was truly saved. But for everybody else that is speaking with authority on one way or the other, you need to stop. Because the only one that you're making look a fool is yourself. I've been appalled by some of the... I put out a Charlie Kirk video. This was 4 months ago. And that's the one that took off. And I'm getting so many people leaving comments on there. I've been appalled by some of the comments on there. You guys are sick. You guys are sick. Laughing that he's burning in hell and that he worships Satan and stuff. You don't know that. That's disgusting. But then what I see some of these pastors out there speaking from their pulpits, certain pastors, I'll show one example here at the very end, but pastors all over the United States dedicating their Sunday service, which is supposed to be for Jesus, and you're making it a ceremony celebrating Charlie Kirk. That's just as disgusting. Pastors and faith leaders out there saying, if your pastor doesn't mention Charlie Kirk on Sunday service, your pastor is a coward and needs to repent, and you need to leave that church because he's not doing what God wants him to do. And I'm sitting there going, what? Seems to me the one that needs to shut up and repent is you for saying such a ridiculous statement. If your pastor doesn't mention Charlie Kirk, he needs to repent. What? They are taking this and they are using it. Never let a good crisis go to waste. And when we see these pastors doing these things out there, like what I just gave an example of, these are the same pastors that fell for the same thing that Turning Point USA is. It's an opportunity to drive Christian nationalism, which is not Christian, and it's a form of nationalism, but it's more like fascism. It's about indoctrinating the youth through colleges and indoctrinating churches to go and do this. And that's something that I've been reporting on for a long time. Turning Point USA is a paid propaganda arm of Trump's administration. And I've shown the receipts on that. I've got videos and stuff that I've shown the receipts on that. And so this is feeding into all this stuff, man. This is feeding into this stuff. And it's getting people to go along with this movement that's a satanic movement. There's some people out there that I know that they see through Christian nationalism. They go, yeah, it's not something that you want to be a part of, and they don't recommend it and whatnot. But I don't think we're harsh enough on it. Christian nationalism is satanic. It is. And we got to be careful that we don't fall into that. Then, out of all of this stuff, I just want to show some things that happen in regards to this. We got this report that says this is the turning point, which whenever I saw any video or article or anything that somebody says, Charlie Kirk's death, this is the turning point, I'm sitting there going, man, you are grifting off of his death. You should be ashamed of yourself. It says this is the turning point. TPUSA says campus chapter request surge over 54,000 after Kirk's assassination. Campus chapter request surge 54,000. TPUSA operates on 900 college chapters across the country, which is always fascinating to me because Kirk was against college to begin with, if you ever heard him say that. So, again, a lot of back and forth there. This Turning Point USA has seen a massive surge in inquiries for new college chapters as the organization works to advance Charlie Kirk's vision following his assassination last week. Andrew Colvett, executive producer of The Charlie Kirk Show, said that Turning Point USA has received more than 54,000 inquiries from people wanting to start new campus chapters. Colvett said that the TPUSA currently has 900 official college chapters and approximately 1,200 high school chapters. Colvett, who's a spokesman for TPUSA, also said the organization has seen an increase in job applications. I've personally received hundreds of offers to work for us or to work for free or to just help whatever. Colvett said to Fox News on Wednesday. Colvett said that lots of job requests were still in his inbox. Charlie's vision to have a Club America chapter in every high school in America will come true much, much faster than he could have ever possibly imagined, Colvett wrote on X on Sunday, calling the response to expand Kirk's mission truly incredible. In a separate post, Colvett wrote, "This is the turning point." You know, and it's stuff like this that should make people question some things. Charlie Kirk dropped out of college and by 31 built a $95 million political empire with a direct line to Trump. Whenever you see people these kids that get pulled out of college or high school, and all of a sudden they're at such a young age doing what they're doing. Look at J.D. Vance. People always question how he got his rise. This dude who grew up in a poor family that couldn't even afford college, that all of a sudden was in college and then all of a sudden is in the position that he's in. We see the background, the puppeteers behind all of that. You don't think Kirk had one of those or several people doing the same things there? Go take a look at his background and tell me that it looks any different, except for the fact that instead of coming from a poorer family, he came from an extremely wealthy family. You know how much the dude was a millionaire. His family is a millionaire, millions of dollars. And what do? They turn his death into a donation pool. Front page of Turning Point USA. Kirk is dead. Donate money. Even though they get millions from the Trump campaign, from the Rumble thing. They have deals with Rumble as well, from a whole host of other organizations and so on and so forth. They turned it into a campaign. I remember when this first happened. It was the day after, I think. No, day of. It was the day of. And I sent a text to my dad. And I said, everybody is going ballistic over the assassination of Kirk. But during the same day, and I put this on my Telegram to make sure people knew, the same day, there's a shooting at a high school. 3 kids in critical condition. 1 confirmed dead. I don't know if the other one made it or not. I had to go digging through the local Colorado news to find that. What made their lives any different from Kirk's? Just because Kirk was a public figure promoting political propaganda, all of a sudden he's more valuable than the kid that was killed at the high school? Or the day before that event, there was a motel owner who had his throat slit by somebody. Never see any news about that. Why is it that we are more inclined to celebrate public figure as opposed to an individual life? I want you to think about that. Don't just respond. Think about that. Why are we more inclined to mourn the death of a public figure than we are of an individual life? That's where I stand on it. I don't believe that God does that. He's pretty clear. He wants all people to come to a saving grace through his son, Jesus Christ. Why do we view it different? Now let's talk about this. We're closing. We're going to be a little late tonight, but like I said, we had a lot of stuff. So hang with me here. Hang with me. Let's see here. You guys know where I stand on Jonathan Cahn, the con man. This dude does everything he possibly can to garner as many clicks through his sensationalism, and he is one of the biggest grifters when it comes to the quote-unquote prophecy community. The fact that so many people listen to this guy and partner with this guy, just people like Prophecy Watchers and you know, all the conferences that they do, and they just had Jonathan Cahn there, and they promote and endorse this dude is just ridiculous. But he'll take any chance that he get on any opportunity to try and make money and get his name out there and sell his stuff as possible. And of course, coming from Charisma Magazine, which is all about the charismatic movement, which don't get involved with that. That's a conversation for a different time. It says Jonathan Cahn reveals the dark forces behind Charlie Kirk's assassination, witchcraft and Jezebel's spirit. Of course, prophetic. This is the shocking assassination of Charlie Kirk on September 10th has left the nation grappling with questions about evil, spiritual forces, and unseen battles shaping our times. In a new prophetic message, Jonathan Cahn reveals a startling connection between the attack and the ancient spiritual forces that continue to move in America. And of course, promoting the book. All about the book. Cahn explained that just 2 days before the assassination, a woman representing the website Jezebel publicly admitted to paying witches to place curses on Charlie Kirk. Guys, I know that's a big thing that a lot of people like to pull out. Oh, these witches are placing curses on Charlie Kirk. That must have been why this event happened. I've had witches email me who have said that they have done the same thing to me. I kid you not. Now, it doesn't happen very often, but I've had two people, one put an actual thing in the email, like a thing, a Latin thing, and then there's another one that was a witch who said that, yeah, I'm casting spells against you, and so on and so forth. This is not some big special thing that happens. And so I'm just here to tell you that just because there's a website and some witches said that they placed a curse on Kirk, don't get wrapped up in that. The witches, now, of course, that magic and stuff, what they do is real, so don't downplay that. But I'm just saying this is not some special thing. It says the witches reportedly performed rituals using Kirk's birth date and even set his photograph on fire to invoke their spells. Trust the unseen, one witch told her, referring to the demonic forces at work. And it's about his book. Hey, you can get his book for $30. Yeah, that sounds great. But it's just taking the opportunity to grift and make money upon something like this through sensationalism and so on and so forth. Remember, Jonathan Cahn has also been one of those people that proclaim that he sees visions and makes predictions, and which have all fallen flat, of course. Then you have MAGA prophetess says she went to heaven and saw Jesus host an awards ceremony for Charlie Kirk. Yes, Kat Kerr. You know, the lady with the pink hair? Yeah, she's grifting on this too. This Kat Kerr, one of the more cartoonishly outlandish figures in the world of MAGA evangelicalism, is at it again, this time claiming to attend an award ceremony in heaven for Charlie Kirk. Kerr, who calls herself a prophetess with a direct line to the Almighty, has long described Trump as sort of a modern-day messiah sent by God to rescue America. Yeah, if you guys want to take a trip down crazy lane, go take a look at some of the interviews that she's done. I'll tell you what. She also said that she went to heaven, met Jesus, and heaven looks like Christmas Town. Yeah. She said she has her hair pink because God likes it that way. Yeah, this is the same lady. So she said she went to heaven and saw this reward ceremony. In her latest report, Kerr says that she went to heaven and saw God personally giving Charlie Kirk a heavenly reward for his earthly labor. According to Kerr, Kirk was decked out in a white outfit trimmed in gold. He was getting part of his reward for what he had done for all the years that he had given himself to rescue people, she said with a straight face. Kerr added that when Kirk turned around, he was sporting a special tunic and carrying a quiver filled with 1,000 arrows of light. And of course, it's a video on Elijah Streams, which is just another joke of one of these things out there. What I find fascinating on this is we have so many people who proclaim to be prophets and prophetesses, who claim that they get visions and prophecies from God, directly from God. We have thousands of them out there claiming that they get this. All these people saying they're getting all these revelations, these visions. You know, we have all the people that are claiming that they're getting visions and confirmations and revelations from God that the rapture is going to happen on Tuesday and stuff like that. We're getting all this. But you have all these people that claim to be prophets and stuff like that. Not one of them knew that Charlie Kirk was going to get assassinated and could go and inform people about it. Not one of them knew. Not one of them who claimed that they get all these visions and revelations from God about Trump and they claim that he was going to win and do all these things and stuff. Not one of them claimed or said that they got a revelation that he was going to get, quote unquote, assassinated. All these people who claim that they get all of this stuff from God. But yet when it comes to the big stuff where they could actually make some type of change somewhere, they get nothing. They only get, quote unquote, prophecies for things that they can back out of. I want to say this. I know this doesn't have to do with the event, but I want to say this. For all of the people who claim that they are getting confirmations and revelations and visions and dreams that God is confirming that the rapture is going to happen on Tuesday, which is the 23rd. If we are here on the 24th, I don't want to hear another word from you. You liars. You liars. But we'll hear from them again. Don't worry, we always do, because these are the same people that have been confirming for years that it's this time, that it's this time, that it's this time, and yet people still continue to follow them over and over and over again. That's not enough. I've been seeing a lot of this too. Charlie Kirk's AI resurrection ushers in a new era of digital grief. AI-generated versions of the conservative Christian activists are popping up online after his killing, as well as in church services. I've been seeing these all over the place. Pictures and videos of Charlie Kirk up in heaven with the Pope, with Abraham Lincoln and MLK and John F. Kennedy and all these people. I've seen him walking upstairs to Jesus, and this is disgusting. This is evil. This is evil. This is AI, demonic intelligence, man. This is just disgusting. I got a video for you guys. It says megachurch pastor Jack Graham, who's already got a whole host of other allegations and stuff against him. If you guys want to go look at that, I'll just leave it there. Megachurch pastor Jack Graham was in the middle of his Sunday message to Prestonwood Baptist Church in Plano, Texas, this past weekend when he paused to cue up an unusual sermon illustration. After encouraging people to respond to the killing of conservative Christian activist Charlie Kirk by turning to God, he instructed the congregation to listen to a roughly minute-long audio clip of what sounded like Kirk delivering a short speech. Hear what Kirk is saying in regarding to what happened to him last week, Graham said. As the clip, which encouraged listeners to pick up your cross and get back into the fight, ended, the congregation burst into a standing applause. A few seconds later, they rose to their feet for standing ovation. But the clip is AI. But the clip they listened to was not, in fact, Charlie Kirk from Beyond the Grave. As Graham made clear when he introduced the segment, the congregation was listening to a production generated entirely by artificial intelligence. The clip, which has gone viral online, was a cloned version of Kirk's voice delivering what appeared to be an AI-generated response from a chatbot asked what Kirk would say in the wake of his own death. It's unclear where the video originated, but at least 2 other large evangelical Protestant churches, Dream City Church in Arizona, which is a disaster of a church anyways, and Awaken Church San Marcos in California, also played it during their services that day. Pastors at both churches made clear the clips were AI. Even so, the segment triggered applause each time. Do you guys not see a fat problem with this? I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I want you to see what's going on.
Me a clip. I think it was created. No, it was created on AI, artificial intelligence, from the words of Charlie Kirk.
From the words? No, it wasn't from the words of Charlie Kirk. Those words were entirely AI generated as well.
I was so moved just to hear it between services. You're hearing something that the first service didn't. But I want you to watch this clip and hear what Charlie is saying regarding what happened to him this past week.
First, I want you to know I'm fine, not because my body is fine, but because my soul is secure in Christ. Death is not the end. It's a promotion.
I'm not going to play the rest of that. I don't even like listening to AI generated stuff. But here's the response afterwards. Standing ovation for an AI-generated clip of Charlie Kirk on a Sunday service. We can see some of these pictures that are being generated. These are all AI-generated pictures that are going around. That's the one blonde lady who was killed in the train, who is apparently in heaven praying over Charlie on his bed. This is... This one is sick, because they're basically saying Abraham Lincoln, JFK, MLK, and Charlie Kirk are on the same level as Jesus Christ. And that was shared by Anna Paulina Luna. This is what they're doing. You know that man's not in heaven, and I'm not saying that with a smile or anything, but you know he's not there. The Pope. He's up there with an American flag shirt and stuff. I mean, this is why are we not calling this out? Why are we not clearing this up? Pastors, the ones who should be defending the faith. I know most of y'all got some type of political agenda that you're trying to push with this. I'll talk about something in a second. But for all the pastors out there, you're supposed to be defending the faith. Why are you not standing against this? You're actually going after the ones who are calling this out. This is not extreme to call out by any means. If you're somebody who does not see a problem with this, then you need a serious spiritual check. Because this is all sorts of wrong that is happening right now. This is disturbing. This is disgusting. They are making something out of this. They are absolutely making something out of this. And they are taking a political propagandist, because that's what Turning Point is. It's a political propaganda organization. They're taking a political propagandist and they are raising him up as some type of Christian idol, Christian hero, and placing him on levels that I can't even comprehend. So much so that last Sunday I saw quite a few, but I'm going to point this one out in particular, who dedicated their entire Sunday service, which is supposed to be dedicated to the Word of God and to learning about and worshiping God Himself, and they transformed it into a worship session of Charlie Kirk and a political opportunity. And that includes Rock Harbor Church, Bakersfield, which of course you guys know. That's Brandon Holthouse, who has been leading the charge when it comes to political stuff. He dedicated his entire service last week to Charlie Kirk, pushing this agenda, shouting from his pulpit about the left-right paradigm, and the leftists are out to kill you, just as they did Charlie Kirk. But that's right in Holthouse's MO. He's always been one of those people. Somebody who claims to be awake but falls directly into the political propaganda. He's just one of many who dedicated their services to Charlie Kirk as opposed to focusing on the Word of God as we should. Again, this is a situation of a man with shadowy background who was a propaganda arm of Christian nationalism, of dominionism, of Project 2025, of Dark Enlightenment, and of the Trump campaign. Infiltrating colleges, high schools, and churches to get them on board with it as well. Who his death is now being used in various ways. Not one, not two, but in multiple ways to push things forward, whatever they may be, whether they're political, whether they're governmental, whether they're societal, whether they're faith and spiritual, however ways that they're doing it. But they're taking this dude and using it as an opportunity to push this stuff forward. And I will repeat this. I don't care if you are on the left. I don't care if you're on the right. I don't care if you're somebody who claims that he's burning in hell. I don't care if you're somebody who claims that he was a martyr for the faith. If you are using those opportunities to push forward an agenda, you need to get right. You need to turn from that. You need to repent. And you need to move away from that because you are playing into exactly what Satan wants you to do. I posted a thing on my Telegram and on my YouTube a couple days ago. This is Christopher Walken just with this ragged look on his face of disgust. And the things that I have seen coming from this are absolutely disgusting from Christians and non-Christians. I don't endorse the man, but I use his quote because it's so fitting. What is wrong with you people? What is wrong with you people? Shame on those who use this man. You're seeing podcasts, secular and Christian podcasts, milking his face, his name, and his death for as many clicks and as much donation money as they possibly can. Because they see an opportunity to further and better themselves here in a materialistic way. I'm not saying I get it right every time, but I certainly don't go out of my way to do this. And I certainly hope if you're one of those people that is doing that, you'll find the error of your ways and change, because it's disgusting. Again, wherever he is, I pray and I hope it's in heaven, like I do all lives. But there's only one way to get there. There's not many. There's not multiple things that you can do. There's only one way, and it's through Jesus Christ. It's through Jesus Christ alone. His gospel is as simple as ABC. A is you admit that you're a sinner. The act of repentance, the changing of mind, turning from self to Christ. It's through repentance, metanoia. It's you realize that you can't save yourself, and that's Jesus Christ alone that can save you. And it's through that repentance, through that changing of mind, that allows us to truly believe in Jesus Christ. Because how can you believe in Jesus Christ as your Savior if you don't know why you need him? And through belief, or through repentance, there's true belief in Jesus Christ. You believe that Jesus Christ is the one and only begotten Son of God, that he came down 100% man, 100% God, the God-man, the one and only, and he lived the perfect sinless life. He came down and he died for us. He was the perfect sacrifice. He carried the sins of the world upon his shoulders, and he died for us. But because there's power in the blood of Jesus Christ, he defeated death and rose again on the third day. For all who believe in him shall not perish, but live forever in his presence and in his glory. He did it. He completed it. There's nothing that we can do to earn it, or to buy it, or to barter for it, to exchange, transact, nothing. We just believe. We place our faith and our trust in him. And see, we call upon the Lord. We are given a wonderful gift of prayer. When we accept Jesus Christ, we are given this gift, prayer, where we have a direct line to the throne room of God, where we can speak with God. We say, Lord Jesus, I am a sinner. I have sinned, and I need you alone, Lord. I believe that you are the one and only begotten Son of God, that you came down to live the perfect, sinless life, that you died upon the cross and rose again on the third day. Lord Jesus, forgive me of my sins. Guide me in this wicked, deceptive world. Keep me on the narrow path. Come soon, Lord Jesus. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right. We are way over time. We have a few questions. Probably going to try and just bullet through these questions here. So hang with me, guys. We don't want to be here too long. Victoria Hazek, do you know anything about Kent Hovind? I've seen little clips of him here and there. I think he's like the dinosaur dude, right? Something like that. I've seen clips of him here and there. That's about all I know. I do know his personal life is really jacked up. A whole lot of marriages and stuff like that. So If somebody's personal life is jacked up, his theology kind of matches that. So, but that's about all I know about him. So I can't provide much more than that. Let's see here. That Titus 2 life, does it help if if he acts like a dog? Mine plays fetch, loves water, and likes belly rubs. Hey, if you like a cat, you like a cat. I'm a dog person. Simple as that. So, hey, it just rhymed. Anyways, sorry. It's been a long one. Let's see here. Edward McKelvey question, did King Charles just throw a big elaborate shindig to celebrate Trump coming on board for World War III? Yeah, I don't know if anybody saw that, where Trump was paraded around with King Charles and stuff around the day. That should tell you everything that you need to know right there. I'll tell you what. I don't know what all that's about, McKelvey, but I know that they're working together, to say the least. Let's see here. Some people talking about the report that starts with a D and ends with an E. Can't really get into that on YouTube, guys. YouTube is quick trigger on that subject. So I'll just leave it there. We don't know what's going on with that. If that report is to be true, they only got a couple months left to do it. So, Epsy question, didn't Jimmy Kimmel get sacked because of speaking out against Trump and Charlie Kirk? It was about the Charlie Kirk comments stuff. And while they're denying that the White House had nothing to do with it, we're pretty positive based on what we just went over tonight that Brendan Carr, FCC dude, had something to do with it. So, Psych and Nurse question, Zach, do you believe pastors, churches should have security with firearms? I've attended a few with off-duty law enforcement officers. I've volunteered as security. I'm all for people carrying in church. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm all for that. I think it's great. It's pretty sad when we have to have security in churches like that, but hey, what did you think the end was going to look like, right? Charlotte Marshall questions, like, who do you believe is missing? Who do you believe is missing having to do with the masked agents and Alligator Alcatraz? Are there many complaints of missing persons? Well, we just kind of went over some of that, Charlotte, where there are people who are on the list that aren't on the list and they can't find them anywhere. They're just gone. Hundreds and thousands of, not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds and thousands, or just thousands of people just gone, disappearing. And we know families are trying to find questions. There's reports out there you can find in like local newspapers and stuff where families are saying, this person was deported to this place, but we can't find them and they don't know where they're at and they're just gone. They can't find them. So it's pretty common. KP 37. That's a lot of 37s. I understand that the government wants civil war. Maybe. We don't necessarily know that. That's just kind of the common idea. But I understand what you're saying. But how does ICE play in a role in all of this? I keep seeing ICE picking up people that are U.S. citizens. Yeah, we kind of covered a little bit of that. Remember, ICE, most of the ICE people that we're seeing now are hired mercenaries. And so if something was to go bad, like a financial crisis, and the country starts going up in flames, those mercenaries who are getting paid to do what they're doing are not going to have a problem shooting at American citizens. So that's why whenever we're seeing private contractors, private security firms, and all these people starting to move forward with contracts with the United States and being planted inside the United States, that's much more telling for me than if they actually deployed the military in the United States. I know a lot of people are thinking they'll deploy the military and so on. It's the private contracting firms. Those are the mercenaries you got to pay attention to. Okay, just a couple more. Is it true? That Titus 2 Life question, is it true that Charlie Kirk and George Floyd share the same birthday? October 14th is listed online for both George Floyd and Charlie Kirk. If that's actually true, we don't know. I mean, who believes that these birthdays are actually real for these people anyways? So take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, that's the thing that I'm seeing from all that. Give me 1 second. Okay. Sorry, needed to check something. But yeah, that's what's listed on that. And then let's see here. I think this is the last one. Yeah, last one. Where'd it go? Oh no, I just read that one. All right, that's it. That's all we got. All right, guys. That's all we got for tonight. Thank you guys for joining me today. I'm all discombobulated. Give me a second, guys. There we go. All right. Yeah, that's it. So thank you guys. There was a lot of information and stuff. I know we went late, but there's a lot of things that we needed to talk to. Again, that's not even everything. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that I just couldn't get to tonight. So we'll get to that on Tuesday, Lord willing. So, but that's it, guys. So thank you for joining me tonight. And yeah, usual spiel. If you guys can, like, share, subscribe. Get this out to as many people as you can. It's not about views, not about butts and seats, but it is about getting the people to Jesus and answering questions and giving them the warning of what's going on. So, hold on. I know I'm in the middle of a spiel trying to end this thing, but yeah, I know who that person is, and they don't need to be around here anymore. But yeah, thank you guys for joining. And if you guys can, like, share, subscribe, get this out to as many people as you can. It's not about views, not about butts and seats, but it is about getting the warning out to people and getting people to Jesus. And so, again, I think when we get together here with the Misfits, our goal is not to stir up controversy. Our goal is not to be sensational. Our goal is not to go with the flow of things. Our goal is to just talk about the things that don't necessarily get talked about. So that's kind of always been our goal. That's how we always do things around here. But ultimately, even when we're doing that, our whole goal is to point people to Jesus. And so I know there's a lot of people out there that are just looking for honest answers. They're looking for truth. They're looking for something to explain what's going on. And so if you guys can do me a solid and like, share, subscribe, I would certainly appreciate that. Also, if you guys can, follow me Rumble and Telegram. Those are my backup channels. If I get booted off YouTube, we'll be back up live streaming over on Rumble. And then Telegram, I post updates, announcements, and other little things that I can't necessarily put in video format. So yeah, I kind of throw that up there. If you don't like Rumble, you don't like Telegram, that's cool. Just make sure you guys bookmark the website, WretchedWatchmen.com. It's your one-stop shop to stay updated on everything, announcements, podcasts, live streams, and all the stuff in between. So make sure you guys go ahead and bookmark that page so you always know what's going on. Last but not least, if you guys would like to support this channel, what I got going on, I got donation links down below. CashApp, Venmo, and Give, Send, Go. This channel is not monetized. I don't make anything from ads, views, anything like that. Run solely off of your guys' generous donations. You guys are amazing. You guys are the ones that make this all work. You guys do. I hope you guys realize that. And so I thank the Lord for you guys. I pray and tell the Lord how grateful that I am that He sent you guys here. And thank you guys for your support and your donations and your gifts and your blessings and your prayers and just everything. You guys are amazing. So yeah, thank you guys for that and your support and everything. So, all right, that's it. My throat is super dry right now, so we're about done. So tomorrow is Sunday. Make sure you guys get your wretched, heathenic, misfit booties to church tomorrow. Bible-believing, Christ-following church. It's the most important thing. And if we're still here by Tuesday, same time, same place, I'll meet you guys right back here. Peace out. Maranatha.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.